Okay, so let's be real for a second. Have you ever spent a ton of money on those big bags of premium soil from the store only to watch your plants just struggle? It's so frustrating. But what if the answer isn't in a plastic bag at all? In this explainer, we're going to dig way past the surface to figure out how to stop buying soil and start building a living, thriving ecosystem right in your own backyard. All right, let's get into it.
And this quote, it just hits the nail on the head. We've all been kind of trained to think of soil as just stuff, an ingredient. But healthy soil, I mean really healthy soil, it's not about how much you have, it's about the life that's actually in it.
So let's unpack why that super convenient bag of potting mix so often leads to a garden that's, well, just sad. Turns out, there's a hidden ingredient in there that's pretty much setting you up to fail before you even get started.
And here it is. The big secret problem is just undecomposed wood, little bits of wood chips. Now this wood is a huge source of carbon. And for all those tiny microorganisms in your garden to break it down, they need a ton of energy. And guess where they get it? By sucking nitrogen out of everything around them. And that, right there, is the whole issue. The soil you just bought starts to literally compete with your plants for the most important nutrient they need, nitrogen. So instead of feeding your vegetables, your soil is busy feeding itself. It's exactly why you see that pale, kind of weak growth, and you feel like you have to keep adding fertilizer just to keep things from dying.
To really fix this, we have to do a complete 180 in how we think. We've got to stop seeing soil as just dirt and start treating it for what it is, a complex, bustling, and totally essential living community.
This quote from Kristen Olson says it all, doesn't it? That dark, rich earth under our feet is a whole hidden world. It's jam-packed with bacteria, fungi, and all sorts of tiny organisms that give plants everything they could ever want: food, water, and even protection from pests.
So here's the most important thing to remember. All of that life, the fungal networks, the little tunnels from the worms, all those microbial colonies, it all creates this really delicate structure. Our main job as gardeners is simply to protect that structure, not constantly tear it apart.
Which brings us to a huge contradiction in how a lot of us learn to garden, right? We're always told to till the soil, to fluff it up. But if our goal is to protect this living structure we just talked about, what damage are we actually doing with all that digging?
The cost it's huge. Tilling is basically like setting off an earthquake in your soil's ecosystem. It just shatters those fungal highways that deliver water and nutrients. It kills off the good microbes by exposing them to the sun and air. It releases tons of stored carbon, and, to add insult to injury, it pulls up all these buried weed seeds to the surface, which just means more work for you.
Okay, so if we're not supposed to dig everything up, how in the world do you start a garden on ground that's hard, full of weeds, or just plain awful? Well, the answer is this really brilliant technique that works with nature instead of fighting against it.
This method is a total game changer because you're not trying to fix the bad ground you already have. You're just creating perfect, brand new soil right on top of it. And it's all about layering organic materials, just like you'd make a lasagna.
The process couldn't be simpler, but man, it's so effective. That first layer of cardboard smothers all the weeds below. But as it gets wet, it becomes like a dinner bell. Earthworms from the soil underneath come right up to feast on it. And as they do, they tunnel and connect the old ground with the beautiful new living layer you're building. You're basically just setting the stage for life to move in and do all the heavy lifting for you. Building that first bed is a massive step, for sure. But the journey doesn't stop there. Now we have to start thinking like managers of an ecosystem, right? We have to keep our living soil fed, protected, and thriving year after year. Two of the best strategies for this are crop rotation and cover cropping. Think of crop rotation as managing your soil's nutrient budget, okay? If you rotate plant families, you stop any one nutrient from getting totally used up. And if you plant things like peas or beans, you're actually putting nitrogen back into the soil for free. Then you've got cover crops, which are like a living blanket for your soil. They protect it from the sun and wind, and then add a ton of organic matter when you're done with them. And hey, if you want to give your soil a real boost, we can call in some reinforcements. There are a couple of specific things you can add that will supercharge the life in your garden and speed up the whole improvement process. Let's start with the good old earthworm, or as they're known in Vietnamese farming, trun que. The impact they have is just wow. Research has shown that just by introducing earthworms, you can increase pasture production by up to 70%. 70! Their tunnels bring in air, and their castings, which is basically worm poop, are one of the best natural fertilizers you can possibly get.
And then there's this amazing stuff called biochar, or than sen hok. Now this isn't fertilizer that just gets used up. This is a permanent upgrade to your soil. The best way to think of it is like a luxury apartment building for all those good microbes, and at the same time, it's a giant sponge for water and nutrients. It holds on to everything, keeping it from washing away, which makes your entire garden more resilient.
You see, when you put all these ideas together, disturbing the soil less, building it up with layers, and feeding the life inside it, you stop being just a consumer of garden products. You actually become a creator. It's this continuous, really rewarding cycle.
So if you take one thing away from all this, it should be that shift in mindset. You're moving away from being a consumer who's constantly buying bags and bottles for their garden to being a creator who is a partner with a living ecosystem, helping it get better and better every single season. You now have the blueprint. You know how to create abundance from the ground up, how to turn what some people see as waste into wealth, and how to turn plain old dirt into this dynamic living system. The only question left is, where are you going to start?